All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Fearless. Today, I have my good friend Shane McGraw on the show. Shane is a very successful loan officer. He owns a very successful farmers insurance agency. He's doing quite a few home flips right now, and he's also launching a brand new coaching program called the Cadre Concept. Welcome, Shane.
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I sound like I'm busy all day.
You are busy.
I am.
Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
You're doing a good thing here, Jeremy. I'm thankful to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do it. I know that you're an incredibly busy guy, and we had a great lunch last week, so I'm excited to continue building this relationship with you. Shane, something I've noticed across all successful people, regardless if it's just within the real estate vertical or every industry, is that successful people aren't people who don't have problems. They're people who have developed the ability to solve their problems more efficiently. And so what I'd like to understand, or sort of to unpack from you, is what is your relationship to fear, and how have you learned to utilize it as fuel that propels you forward versus that stumps you and stops you, like most people?
Super good question, but I think the answer is kind of a weird. I'm going to approach it from a different angle, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
So I was given this lesson from, I don't even know where I got it. I wrote a book, and I put it in the book, and it's one of my favorite things. It's called Drifting, Driven, and Directed.
I like that.
The 3 Ds. And the idea is, when you're in a state of drifting, fear is pretty prevalent because you don't have a sense of purpose or direction or clarity. So then you use that. Fear comes up in everything, comes up in your identity, comes up in your relationships, comes up in your workplace. I mean, fear is damn near,
your life.
The voice that's running in your head at all times, because you're drifting. And then, as time passes, and as you, find your identity, and as you kind of start to build some lessons that you failed enough to realize you can live through the failures. You can, there is a tomorrow. I've developed a bunch of little things, little lessons through the chapters, and I'll talk on that if you'll let me.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
And then driven becomes like, I am going to make this happen. Nothing can stop me. And there's an I component, but man, you can cover a lot of ground in the driven. People will used to say to me all the time, and so they still do, is, man, you're so driven, Shane. You're so driven. And in my head, I like to go, I'm not driven. I'm directed. I used to be driven. Because driven kind of and of course, every one of these things, anybody watching, there's going to be some people watching your show that's going to be like, I know Shane, and he's super driven.
Yeah.
Perspective is reality, right?
Sure.
Perception is reality. But then there's this other stage in life that I think is the most critical stage there is, and it's directed. It's under the authority of something.
Uh-huh.
It's recognizing that you're part of something and you're not the main character.
I like that.
So for me, I had some seasons in my life. I grew up in an environment where my dad was a horrible human being, and he still is, and he was a drug addict, and he made my life both mentally and physically horrible. And in the process of doing that, he taught me how to be angry about everything and emotional about everything. So as a young man, I knew I didn't want to be. I spent a lot of my time trying not to be somebody.
Okay.
But I didn't know who I wanted to be. I just knew I didn't want to be somebody, right? Him. That was my drifted. I was just all over the place. I didn't know what I wanted.
Sure.
And I allowed my emotions and my anger to be my compass, which those are the 2 worst things to let be your compass.
Right.
And then I joined the military to become a man, and thank God I did, because it helped a lot. And I started learning, and then I kind of stumbled upon a couple of years of just drinking and acting a fool and just chasing women and doing things that by no means satisfied, my need for direction, right? That whole directed thing it's an important part of this whole story. And then at some point I recognized I had a Jesus moment where, I was in the Middle East, and I had come across a lot of bad decisions, and I was getting ready to get deployed, and my buddy gave me a Bible, and he said, I'm telling you, if you come back being a man who read this, it'll change your life. Wow. And this Bible thing, just like, some of you may not be into Jesus, some of you maybe, but that for me was like my moment. It really helped me. And then I started going on a journey. Instead of being drifting, I started to become very driven. But my first stages of driven was, instead of trying not to be my dad, I started trying to be who I was supposed to be. And that season took me a while because, I didn't have an identity outside of my anger and my emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So trying to figure out who Shane was. That was fun, you know, and I became very, very determined to be something, you know, so I wanted to be the rich guy. I wanted to be the guy with stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted everything that my dad didn't provide for me. I wanted to have a nice house. I wanted to have nice functioning cars. I wanted to have a stable environment for my kids. I wanted to have one wife, and I wanted to treat her like a queen forever. And I wanted her to, you know, I wanted this white picket fence dream.
Sure.
So I became very laser focused on getting that.
Okay.
Getting that. And then eventually I started to believe my own press. You ever done that before? You become good at something. Yeah. You know, there was at one point when I was making, you know, about $85,000 a month. Wow. And truthfully, I wasn't really worth it. I wasn't worth it. I had a lot of people doing a lot of things for me, and I was good at creating momentum, but I was a good person. I wasn't a horrible person. Yeah. I just was doing it for me, and everybody around you. When you're doing everything for yourself, people start to notice, and they're like, "Hey, you know, let's play the same game you're playing. I mean, you're about you, so I'm going to be about me." And then there's like this thing, and there's this tension, and it's kind of like being the best version of someone else than you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? And then I kind of had this 6-month sabbatical where I decided to quit the mortgage industry almost in its entirety, which cut off about $65,000 of that money every month. And there was a series of events and bad choices that I made that led to that moment when I had to like change. When you make $65,000 a month, at least for me, it's really hard to quit even if you hate it.
Sure, of course.
Because I mean, you only got to do that for 5 years and you can quit all things. You know, it's a pretty powerful number, at least for me.
Yeah.
And then I started to go on this journey about becoming directed. And now I'm really, really cause driven. I want, so what I do, Jeremy, I don't know if it's yours, but the way I overcome all my fear is the cause is bigger than the fear. Mm-hmm. The journey is bigger than the fear. What I hope to gain, what I hope to accomplish.
Who you hope to become.
The man I hope to become is more important to me than the fear that's stopping me.
Sure.
So I have some rules. So like one of my rules is I only get to whine about something for one day.
Okay.
So the next morning it's a new day. Yep. I'm the best version of myself. I have all the lessons of yesterday in my tool bag. Mm-hmm. And today I have the whole world in front of me. I'm more prepared today than I've ever been.
Wow.
And then that's kind of my philosophy. And so I take a lot of risks and I do a lot of crazy stuff, and I'm not afraid because what could really happen?
Right. Right. Or you are afraid, you feel the fear, but you have a healthy relationship with it in which you can look at it and say, what's the worst that can happen? And the pros outweigh the cons, because you do take a lot of risks. Like, it's my understanding you have about 14 flips right now going, and which is just, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around that. I have several friends who flip on that level as well. And that seems like so much work. Which is a whole other conversation. But you also just acquired a insurance company. Mm-hmm. And so you're doing a lot. And so I'm just really intrigued by you, because I love people who can say, okay, here's what I want to do. Here's what my heart's calling me to do. Is there some fear? Are there some red lights? Yes, absolutely. Because unfortunately, I found that a lot of people need all the lights to be green. Like, well, I don't really fully understand this, or I don't have this in place, or this or that. The reality is life is short and you will die. And just how do you want to live it? You know, I think it's about 2 years ago when I started doing shows and vlogs and throwing events. And I was also on a journey. I felt like I was in a midlife crisis at a young age, just trying to figure out and trying to get to a place where I woke up every morning and I was really excited to do what I was about to do that day. And I'm still on that journey. You know, I'm getting closer. I'm so thankful and so happy. And my dad and my family remind me of that, is that, Jeramy, you've been a guy who's been able to pretty much do whatever you decided to do. I've only had a job per se only 2 times in my life. And each time it was a mortgage guy. And I love that. And I've been intrigued by people who also have been able to do that. Just decide what you want to do. And human beings are so resourceful. We are incredible. I believe that if you have 2 legs, 2 arms, and a capable mind, you can literally do whatever you want. So how dare you not do the thing that your heart calls you to do?
Yeah, that'll preach. One thing that I think I've learned is going back to this cause thing. Yeah. You know, I fail a lot. I just always fail forward. You know, that's
Yes.
my thing is, man, I mean, you think I make money on every house? Come on. I just
No.
don't talk about the ones I fail on. I don't, because I mean, I've already moved on. I learned so many lessons. There's no way I failed. I won't make that mistake that led to that failure again.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I build little rules, and, you know, I'm more prepared today to fail than I ever have been.
There you
It's not
go.
that I don't fail. I just
Yes.
am more prepared to do it.
I love that.
I
You
don't
know what,
stay at the bottom.
Sean, Shane, that's fantastic. I never heard someone say it quite as well as you just did. I'm more prepared to fail, because if you're successful, Shane, you're more successful than me. So that probably means that you failed more than me. And I love that concept, actually, that you're more prepared to fail now. And so you're less intimidated by it. You understand it. You understand how to fall, right? It's one thing to fall and like not know how to stop yourself from hitting your head on the concrete.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing to know if you're falling forward, and don't just fall forward, roll, right? Roll into the concrete.
So let me talk more about this failing thing, because I think that if you're watching this and you want to get one thing that I think is what's kind of freed me from the burden of failure, because the truth is you're not actually, most people aren't afraid of the failure. They're afraid of the opinions of others, perception of their failure. It's how you feel like others will look at you. So I learned something lately, and man, it's a lesson I'll never get right. So please don't think I'm coming from a place of already arriving to this, but I just stopped learning. I'm working very hard to not keep score, because if you don't keep score, you don't fail. You know, it's not about failure. It's just about doing your best every day. I have this little sticker on my light switch, and it says, you've done your best today and your best is good enough.
Yeah.
And so I have to remind myself, when I've worked my butt off in the day, I'm doing the very best I can. I'm surrounding myself with the very best people I can. I'm taking as much wisdom as I can. I'm reading as much as I can. I'm waking up as early as I can. I'm going to sleep as fast as I can. I'm eating as best I can. So today I did the best I can, and that was good enough. And then tomorrow I get to build upon that. So the scorekeeping is, in my opinion, that's where you lose the joy of the journey, is when you keep score. The journey, the secret sauce of the journey, is to recognize that the story is not about you. You're not the main character.
Yeah.
You're a guide. You get, you know, the Bible says if you're being mentored and then you're mentoring others, you're in a perfect, that's the Shangri-La of it, because someone's investing in you and you get to receive their wisdom, and then you get to take that wisdom that you have and give it to someone else. And if everybody had a mentor and was being mentored, we would all be better. And then you could say, well, what if I had a mentor in my marriage? You know how many marriages are failing right now, Jeremy Poole? Good God.
So many.
I mean, you want to kill your entire momentum of life, get divorced.
Yes.
You know, God, you talk about fear. There's my fear right there.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to come in front of that.
No, that's that's one thing it's always kind of held me back. And luckily now I'm in a really good relationship, and things are looking like things will probably move in that direction. But I've always wanted to make sure that that was not the case. I was not another statistic, right?
Well, we all are a statistic, so we just got to make sure we're on the good side of this.
On the good side, yes. On the good side. So Shane, something else I'd like to talk about, and then we can kind of dive into it deeper, just surface level. But what I'm more interested in is the why behind the Cadre concept. You're killing it right now. You're doing so well for yourself. Why one more thing?
I love the way you say it. Why one more thing? Here's the truth. The Cadre concept is what I do. These different things are the conduits that give me permission to do it. So the Cadre concept for me is what we're doing right now. It's you are the sum. So what Cadre means, it's a military term. I'm a veteran, so that's important to me. And it's a highly skilled, highly trained person working together with another highly skilled, highly trained person to reach a common goal together.
Love that.
So I believe that there aren't really any friendships out there. I think that's kind of a crock. I think we think that that's a thing. I believe there's partnerships that have mission in the center. So the mission could be that you and I are going to do this life together, you know, hell or high water, we're going to do it together. The mission is our friendship is going to be something that's important to us.
Right.
But I think largely the mission is, are we doing something we love? Are we doing something that the world needs? You know, do we get paid to do it?
Sure.
That's important, you know. And there's another one. Can't remember the fourth one, but there's like a process of like how you choose what you're going to do and why. And then once your why is in the center of it, it's not what you do. It's just it's who you are while doing it. So
Right.
the reason my flip business is going well is because I don't actually know how to do construction at a high level. I can do some, and I know the general, I can tell if the drywall is wrong or right.
Sure.
But I'm good with people.
Yes.
Because Cadre is, in my opinion, you are the sum of the people you surround yourself with. So are you proactively working to surround yourself with people that make you better?
Mm-hmm.
And then recognizing that a cadre is a body of people highly skilled, right?
Yes.
So is it possible for me to have a cadre here where I'm focused on real estate, and a cadre here where I'm focused on insurance, and a cadre here where I'm focused on construction, and a cadre here where I'm coaching, and all of those people to be getting the same Shane?
Yes. Yes.
And then connecting them to each other to help them grow each other's business. Just like I would do it if with my 5 business professionals that help me serve my clients, and I do that with my businesses. So none of my businesses are about me anymore. And when they try to get there, I have people inside those businesses that their job is to tell me that I'm making it about me.
I love that.
Because if its arrows are in, my arrows will not be out. And if they're in, you and I, remember what I was talking about earlier is, whenever you're in a relationship or doing something, you have to be able to give something to it, and you have to be able to take something from it. So if I'm only coming to give, which means it's about me to get, then, you're not going to work with me very long.
Yes. Yes. No, that's great. I went to a mastermind that I told you about in Malibu about a year ago. And probably the biggest thing I walked away from that is, Jeramy, we got to get you in a position where you're able to work on your business versus working in your business. And when you're working in your business, man, it feels like you're just so important. It feels like everything is dependent upon you. And if you aren't managing everything and managing everyone, nothing gets done. But that's not actually the truth. And I feel like when you're able to pull yourself out of the situation and look at it from the outside looking in, you're no longer focused on you. Like you said, you're no longer the director and the primary actor center stage in front of the audience. You are now just a contributor. You're an important contributor, but you're just a contributor. And life just goes so much easier when you kind of like take your hand somewhat off the steering wheel and let other people.
You can have control or you can have growth.
Yeah.
Rarely can you have both.
Right. Right.
Have you ever heard of the Maxwell? He has this thing called the principle of the lid.
No.
The concept is that your business and your surroundings can only be commensurate to what you believe that you can achieve, to your level of. Don't wish that your problems were less. Wish that you were better at handling your problems.
Yes, right.
So it's a mastery process of being above today. There's this guy named Brian. He puts out Optimize +1. It's an app. If you don't have it, it's freaking awesome. Free promotion for Brian. But Optimize +1. He always goes, "This is Optimize +1," and he does the exact same thing every single time.
All right.
And it's always this little vignette, and he talks about +1 being 1% better than you were yesterday. I'm a real big fan of Joe Stump, and Joe Stump, or not friend, but fan, and he's always talking about that 1% better than you were. And the journey is never to arrive, it's to be better than you were. Well, if that is your compass, just to be better, I didn't say better than Jeramy.
Sure.
I said better than I was yesterday. It's an internal battle.
Right.
It's an internal journey. And then I'm going to be the sum of the work I put into it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I was watching this vlog or speech by Matthew McConaughey, actually, of all people. And he was talking about, he was 25 and somebody was asking him who his hero was. Actually, it was 15, and he said, me in 10 years. And then once he got to 25, it was 10 more years. But I thought that was a very beautiful view, because it's obvious that he's confident and he loves and appreciates himself, but not in like an unhealthy, arrogant kind of way, but just more so, I am a special person. I'm one of God's children, and it's my job to always strive to become better, more fit, better family man, better to my wife, better to my children, better, just a better person in general. And I love that. And that's part of this whole thing, right? It's like, there's these stories that we tell ourselves in our heads that stop us from becoming the wonderful people that we're supposed to be. And if we're better,
we're all wonderful every day. We just don't count we focus on the negative narrative instead of the positive.
We
narrative.
do.
I mean, look at me.
It's easier.
I'm alive. I have hair. Both my arms work. I have all my teeth. I don't have an illness or, there's 1,000 things that I should be thankful for right here in this very moment. I get to talk to you I've watched your journey forever, and I have a ton of respect for what you're trying to accomplish and for the people that you're trying to impact and connect. And you chose me to be on that. Like, how can I not be thankful for that?
Yeah, no, it's
I'm never like arrived to where I belong. I get the option to participate. And like right now I get to do this. So
yeah.
Well,
Shane,
mindset.
You are an incredibly successful guy. You're a great guy. You're a wise guy, and you're just getting started. It seems like. If we can leave our viewers with one thing regarding how to deal with fear, what would it be? And I know this is kind of a question that wasn't planned, but if you can leave the audience with one thing regarding dealing with fear, moving towards the direction of accomplishing your goals and really becoming the person that you really want to be deep down, what would it be?
I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for, but I think fear can be completely eliminated from your vocabulary when you narrate the story with you not in the center. So like the Cadre concept, the whole brilliance and beauty of it, the reason I'm so in love with it, and I hope that when I'm 90, I'm still trying to teach my grandkids about the Cadre effect. I don't care if it's a fad and it goes away, or if it becomes, presidents of the United States are using my word. I want to use this as my DNA forever.
Okay.
And what I believe is you putting in the work to be the best version of yourself so that you can serve that person, that version of you, to other people with the goal of helping them reach their goals and getting to the same spot. So many times when I was a mortgage lender, I did a lot of loans. I mean, I did 6.7 million in July on the month that I quit.
Wow.
Some people do more, but for me, I was pretty proud of
a month. Yeah, that's a month.
Yeah.
You're proud of yourself.
I went out making the biggest paycheck I ever made. It was cool. I was making the most money per unit I've ever made, and I did the most units I've ever done. And tons of people
with the trophy.
Yeah, I felt good. I didn't do it on purpose, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
But what I learned through that season of kind of going out and getting people to like me is I wasn't spending very much time getting to know other people and like genuinely understanding the value of camaraderie and friendship and recognizing that we're all sloppy, we're all broken people. Hurt people.
Sure.
And I'm hurt, you're hurt, we're all broken. None of us are better than the next guy. So for me, if you want to overcome your fear, if you're going to take something and stick it in your pocket, I would ask you in your narrative inside of here, who's the main character? You, a cause, what you are, who you are. You're not the sum of the stuff you have. You're not the sum of, the job you have. You're the sum of, what happens between your ears. I mean, what you believe yourself.
Yes.
So I think most of fear is selfish.
Most of fear I never heard that before. That's good.
I think that's the first time I've ever said that. So
that's good. That's actually
whenever I'm fearful. It's selfish.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've never heard anything like that before. If you're absorbed by fear, it's because you are focusing on yourself. You know what?
It's about you.
Tony Robbins said it something like that, but he said it differently, and now it actually makes sense. How you said it actually makes more sense. Is that suffering? He said it this way. He said suffering is when you are focusing on self. And it's impossible, he was saying from his research, that it's impossible to suffer if you're focusing on other people. And if you're focusing on self, it's because you're too focused on yourself. Or if you're feeling fear and suffering, because you're too absorbed in yourself.
Well, there's kind of two forms of suffering that come to mind. One is a suffering because you're choosing to suffer.
Right.
One is suffering because you're suffering to grow.
If
you're focusing on serving other people and you're suffering, it's because you're growing. So there is a little bit of a, growth normally. I mean, like Jesus comes and he says this, he says, I came to help all the broken people, all the sick people, all the bottom of the barrel, all of you who are on the bottom, that's who I came to serve. And then he says, if you want to be the highest, become the lowest. If you want to be regarded at the highest, you got to become the lowest. And then he washes their feet.
Right.
Back then, they didn't wear shoes, and he was like the God of all the land was choosing to use his last moments to wash the feet of his men, and saying, if you ever want to be like me, if you ever want to understand what it's like to serve a life, just go wash other people's feet.
Wow.
I've never washed another man's feet, and I don't know if I would wash your foot if you asked me, but I'd like to believe that that's my goal, is to be a guy that has so much humility and perspective of the world, where my role is to serve people to wash the feet of the guy that doesn't deserve it.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
So
That's
I don't
good.
know. I didn't expect to talk about, as much with it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's
so I
fantastic.
would say fear is it's all about you.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Shane, thank you so much for being on the show, brother. I super appreciate you. Lots of good stuff here. And I'm looking forward to continuing building our friendship.
Cadre.
All right, brother.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Talk to you later. Bye. See ya.